Okay, wait, I forgot one more thing about side quest that I meant to talk about. So another thing is back to the sameness of the side quest, right? I mean, you have almost 80 side quests. How would I have broken it up, right? Again, I know budgets are a thing, timelines are a thing. You know, anybody who has worked knows there are always limitations. But this is my wish list, right? I think it would be nice to kind of section off the side quests into bunches of types. So one is of course your day-to-day kind of daily life of the people and how bearers are treated, which I think is like, I don't know, 90% of the side quests that you get. That's fine. That's great. I would have liked a side quest that dealt with I don't know what you call it, interstate relations. So things like there's so much focus on life as a, or whether you see on the screen, right? Soldiers fighting for the empire. Each empire has they have different names for their soldiers, different types, and of course Clive himself was an imperial soldier for 13 years. So why I would really like to see the cultural clash and the relations between soldiers of different backgrounds, and really show the human side of war, right? I really liked one of the side quests that you got. I forgot. I think it's on the way to Tabor, where you're asked to rescue the one of the Republican soldiers in the camp that went Akashic. And you think, oh, it's just gonna be another like save this guy. He goes off, right? But it turns out there's a twist. There's a follow up to that where he's like, I know you. I was there when you killed Kupka. I was there when you killed my brothers. You know, he was an opponent, or he he was a Republican army and Clive's opponent. That's great, right? Clive is face to face with one of the nameless soldiers you don't actually care about. It's just one of the mooks that you fought. And sadly, that was one of the side quests that didn't have a continuation. I really would have liked. Okay, first of all, you had a choice whether to fight him or not. And we didn't. I mean, it's up to you what you do. In the end, it was a fake choice because either way, he lives. And I would have understood that if there was a continuation to that side quest and you have to face off with him again and some other conclusion happens, right? So that would have been nice. But because there wasn't a continuation, why couldn't they let you figure out whether you want to kill him or not? Like, so again, the problem of fake choice is another issue with the side quests. Like, for these which clearly have no further implications, let me choose whether I would like to put him out of his misery or, no, maybe not Clive. Clive would be like, yeah, I'll face you man to man, I don't know. Or I will let you go because you can't even fight, right? So let those choices matter, that's one. But secondly, these soldiers, the men on the ground, who are at the mercy of their lords, their uncaring lords, right? There was a really nice one in Walud where you have to bring a soldier's ring and bury it next to his parents. Like, oh, that was so good. So simple but so good. So I would have liked to see more of side quests involving the soldiers who fight all these battles and are also victims when the icons themselves are deployed. I mean, an example would be nice to see an Imperial and Republican soldier, forced to kind of survive together. I mean, was this another Witcher 3? I think it was already one of the early Witcher 3 side quests or something like that. Yeah. And then Clive has to help them along the way, but you kind of see how they maybe come to agreement or just remain as enemies, whatever. Yeah, so stories of the soldiers, right? You have stories of the common people, but you saw the soldiers who see up front this the violence and the loss that are the result of war. That's another batch. And another batch that I would have really loved to see is, and why I have Benedicta on screen now, is side quests that let you learn a bit more about all these dominants. So again, it comes to what does Clive really want to know, right? He might not really care, or it might not be that pertinent at that point when he meets, let's say, Benedicta to really like understand what her background was, what's her motivations or anything like that. Although, interestingly enough, he actually bothers, right? He asks Sid about her, so he does try to learn about her. It just doesn't go any further than that. But I just would have liked side quests that let you find out more about Benedicta's past, what she was as a person, how she grew up. You got some flashbacks, so that's about it. Sid has enough, so I think he's fine. Kupka, of course. Barnabas for sure. So Clive doesn't have to learn about them in the moment because you're in. Essentially, every time he meets them, he's fighting for his life. But why couldn't you have learned more about them through these side quests instead of another hunt, right? Yeah. I think I saw one tiny little, you could find one tiny note in Tabor about Kupka sending money to an Earth tribe, some hidden Earth tribe somewhere, and it's the note itself questions whether he does it out of loyalty or some other reason, something like that. Anyway, but I'm like, oh my god, this is like the only other thing we've ever had about Kupka in the whole game. Yeah, so I was banking on these side quests to be how you find out more about these about your opponents, or just other characters that they don't get the the level of screen time that Clive, Jill, and Joshua get. So those are the three main ways that I would have sectioned off the side quests, and given them, sorry, that was an ad, given them a bit more variety. And not quite side, I mean, this can be side quests, or they can just be mini games, or they just be extra things you can do. So again, bringing the world to life, right? Side quests could have been a way to express more. Okay, first of all, there could have been ways to change the seriousness. Like, they were very. You can see that the team is very. They kept the tone very tight. Yeah, I saw a comment that even the Chocobo theme, you just get a little ring before it goes back to your normal background music, because they didn't want to disrupt the tonality too much. Fine, if that's true, I'm fine with that. It's fine. I mean, I've seen people complain when the Chocobo theme runs forever either, so there's no pleasing anybody. Yeah, in general. But I think the side quest could have been ways to, if not lighten the mood with some light comedic elements, there could have been ways to find out to change up what you do in the world. So I think Pez had an example where why couldn't Clive through some way be forced to take part in a play? I mean, it's very FF7, of course, but it would still have been fun. And then it's not that Clive doesn't have that flair, right? He did it with Byron. He played with, he's got a literary side, a theater kid side to him too. So why couldn't he have been some way finagled into taking part in a play? Maybe to entertain the people at the hideaway, perform a section from the Sector, the Saint and the Secretary, or whatever any other stories there. Yeah, so you would have developed that piece of lore, that literally their literature, seen a different side of Clive, changed up the feeling. It would have been nice. And don't tell me about tone. Okay, we'll come to tone separately, okay? There's something else that I have an issue with. I understand what I have an issue with. Well, if you don't want Clive to be in a play because it might it's not really in character, whatever, then why don't you have an option for him and Jill to go visit and watch a play? I think I think that would have been just as nice, because then it gives them time to interact. Again, you see some part of the world. So this reminds me of something you could do. I think it was RDR2, where you could pay a certain amount, very light, and then you watch those little films, either in the traveling traveling camera thingies, camera wagons, but then you actually reach one of the towns in RDR2, and you can actually watch a full-blown magic act or film. So why couldn't you do that here? You have so many towns and so many place encampments. You had the hideaway, which is amazing. Why couldn't there have been an option to learn more? You have a bard. Well, okay, the bard is fantastic. It's such a great addition, and it works so well. You can tell that Yoshi P or whoever, someone at CBU3, they were really into the mood, the medieval vibe. So the bard is great. We needed more things like the bard that fills up the character of the world. And then this comes to the point about seriousness. So I think I saw a comment, or rather an interview, where I think Yoshi P did mention something like, there are not a lot. They had to be very selective on side content or so-called mini games, because again, he has to match. People are at war here, right? People are trying to survive. Does that mean it's not really a time for mini games? Blitzball being that specific example. Okay, I'm not gonna say. I mean that there's a lot of discourse on that particular interview, but the crux of it is about the tone and the seriousness. Fair enough. I don't think that means that people did not make their own entertainment, right? Whether it's games, plays, they could be. I mean, it's an M-rated game, right? They could even make body tales, making fun of Queen Annabella, for example. So I think my point here is that people still found ways to entertain themselves, even in the darkest times. You just have to look at our history, right? There are lots of stories of soldiers who, you know, in times of war found they still made their own, you have to build a sense of camaraderie with your fellow, you know, with your fellow warriors, with your fellow teammates and all that. So fellow soldiers, and it's done through things like sports, card games. People put on little plays, even in armies. Why couldn't we have simplified versions of that in this, you know? I don't think we have broken the tone that much. And let's be honest, if Clive can go and kill and do some random chore for the cook, you know, Molly the cook, as one of his many things to do, right? He's such an important figure. He goes and gets something from Molly the cook. I think he can I think you have to be a bit flexible in terms of tonality and realism. So I really think the point about minigames, it's people have a point that there should have been these kinds of different content, more lighthearted. Doesn't have to be, you know, outright silly. They just have to give a different experience of the world. It's not just everything is serious and everything is sad all the time. Yeah, so things like watching a play, going to the watching a play, playing card games, gambling games. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could come up with some mini sports-like game as well, you know. Chocobo racing is an obvious one. You have a chocobo there. In fact, I'm shocked that it's not in. I almost think it's meant to be a DLC, which will probably piss more people off actually. But you already have the chocobos there, and it's also a bit weird because CBU3 is the team that, okay, of course they're not exactly the same people, but the other team that came up with the Ghost Horse in FF16, which is full of mini games. So how did this not happen here? Okay, so this is not about mini games per se. Again, it's going back to side quests, and again, changing up the experience and the type of side quests available. And one of them could have, and a lot of this could have been, experiences outside of war. Mid quests does get a lot of flack because they do seem like busy quests, but I also feel that Mid's quests were meant to be your breathers. I think one of her initial ones were literally letting off steam. So, you know, you go and you get to choose, right? You go with Otto or Gav. Did anyone choose Otto? Or you go with Jill and Tarja, and those are meant to be, I think, your moments of levity, you know. And then if you take Jill, it's really sweet. I mean, if you take Tarja, it's sweet. Gav is sweet, but again, it's very short, and the actual activity is no different. You went and picked something. I think the sameness of the activity is another issue, because you're like, oh my god, I just did some fetch quest for Mid. This character just came up like 5 minutes ago and sending me to do her chores. So that already puts you on the wrong foot to really appreciate the character moments for what they are. And again, it could have been more. It could have been different. Go for a pub night out with Gav. My god. Okay, I mean, we saw how he is after a few drinks. Might not be great, but yeah, get into a bar fight, you know, those kinds of things. I'm sure, being such a medieval weeps, I guess, that CBU3 are. I mean, I just cannot imagine they didn't think about these options, and I don't know why they didn't put it in. I think it would have been perfect. Yeah. So side quests, as bunches of side quests, right? One of them is really change up the experience of the world, and the other give us ways to learn about all these, Benedicta, Kupka, what's his name, Barnabas, Sleipnir, all of them. We really, again, for the purpose of the story and what we saw, is so good. And that's why it's a waste of the characters to not see more of them through these side quests. Okay, that's it. I think I'm done with side quests. Yeah, thank you.